What happens when she realizes you've lost interest? It's not what you might think. It's more intense, more revealing, and it can completely flip the dynamic in your favor. The way she reacts will tell you everything you need to know about her true feelings and your power in the relationship. Stay with me, because understanding her reaction will give you a powerful edge you didn't even know you had. 1. The initial shock of losing control. When a woman realizes you've lost interest, the initial shock hits harder than you might imagine. This isn't just about surprise. It's about the sudden realization that the dynamic she once controlled has shifted entirely. Up until now, she might have felt secure in the idea that you were invested, predictable, and emotionally engaged. But when that energy disappears, it creates an emotional ripple effect she can't ignore. This shock comes from the loss of certainty. Certainty is comforting. It tells her where she stands and reassures her that you're still there, paying attention and emotionally involved. Losing that certainty forces her into unfamiliar territory. She starts asking herself, what changed? Did I misread him? Was there something I missed? These questions don't just stem from confusion. They come from the fear of losing the connection she thought she controlled. But here's the powerful part. This moment of shock is where the balance begins to shift. Your silence and withdrawal create a sense of mystery. She doesn't know where she stands anymore, and that uncertainty creates an emotional pull. Her mind becomes preoccupied with the why, and that question alone can dominate her thoughts. The important thing for you here is not to fill in the blanks for her. Let her sit with the shock and the questions. It's in this space of discomfort that she starts to reevaluate you and her own behavior. 2. Her need to reclaim validation. Validation is like oxygen in relationships. When she feels your attention and interest slipping away, it creates a void that her mind can't ignore. This void triggers her instinct to reclaim that validation, to ensure that she still holds a significant place in your life. But this isn't just about feelings. It's about regaining a sense of power and control. You might notice subtle shifts in her behavior during this phase. She could start reaching out more, sending texts that seem casual but are really just tests. Messages like, "Hey, how have you been?" or "I saw something that reminded me of you." These are not accidental. They're calculated efforts to gauge your emotional state and see if you'll engage. She's looking for signs that she still matters and that she still has some level of influence over you. However, her actions might also escalate if she doesn't get the response she's hoping for. She may try to provoke an emotional reaction by mentioning other people or acting as though she's completely indifferent to your absence. But this isn't true indifference. It's a way of testing your boundaries and your emotional stability. The critical mistake most people make here is giving in too quickly. They misinterpret her attempts at reclaiming validation as genuine interest and revert to old patterns of chasing or over-explaining. But the real power lies in holding your ground. By staying composed and detached, you force her to work harder to understand you. This subtle yet profound shift changes how she sees you. It makes her realize you're not the same person she thought she had figured out. 3. The curiosity that drives her to reevaluate. Once the initial shock fades and her attempts to regain validation fall short, curiosity takes over. This curiosity isn't just about you. It's about understanding what went wrong and what changed. People are naturally analytical, especially when it comes to relationships. When your behavior shifts unexpectedly, it triggers a need to figure out why. She begins replaying your past interactions in her mind, analyzing every detail for clues. Did she miss something? Did she overlook something important? These questions aren't just passing thoughts. They become a constant loop in her mind. She might even start asking her friends for advice. trying to piece together a narrative that explains your behavior. Curiosity also leads to reflection. As she digs deeper, she starts to see things she might have ignored before, your qualities, your efforts, and the things that made you unique. Your absence creates a space where these positive traits become amplified in her mind. It's as if your silence has turned the volume up on everything she took for granted. The beauty of this phase is that you don't have to do anything. Her mind is doing all the work for you. The more curious she becomes, the more invested she gets in understanding what happened. And the more invested she becomes, the more likely she is to realize just how much she stands to lose. 4. The role of ego. Ego is a powerful force in this equation. It's tied to her sense of identity and control, and when that control is threatened, her ego reacts defensively. Realizing that you're no longer as interested as you once were forces her to confront a version of herself she might not want to see. The ego thrives on validation and certainty. When you are attentive, responsive, and emotionally available, it reinforces her sense of importance in your life. But the moment you pull back, that reinforcement disappears. This creates an inner conflict, and she starts questioning whether she misjudged her influence over you. This phase can be difficult for her because it challenges her perception of the relationship. If she thought she had the upper hand, your withdrawal forces her to reconsider. Her ego might lead her to act out, trying to regain the power she feels she's lost. This could include provoking you with indirect comments, trying to make you jealous, or acting overly confident to mask her insecurity. The key here is to remain steady. Don't let her ego-driven reactions pull you back into old dynamics. Your calm and composed demeanor will do more to unsettle her than any reactive behavior ever could. Over time, her ego will take a backseat to her emotions, and that's when real reflection begins. 5. The turning point. When she feels the void. Silence is often underestimated, but its impact becomes undeniable when she starts to feel the void you've left behind. This isn't just about missing your presence. It's about the absence of everything you brought to the relationship, your attention, your energy, and your consistency. At first, she might brush it off, thinking she can adjust to the new dynamic. But as days or weeks go by, the weight of your absence begins to settle in. She starts to notice the little things she took for granted, the way you made her laugh, the way you listened, or even the stability you provided. These realizations come in waves, and each wave hits harder than the last. The void isn't just emotional, it's psychological. She starts to question whether she underestimated your value and whether losing your interest is a reflection of something she did wrong. This introspection is powerful because it forces her to confront her own behavior and its consequences. Your role during this phase is simple. Do nothing. Let her feel the full weight of the void. Let her wonder and reflect. The longer she sits with these feelings, the more significant your absence becomes in her mind. 6. Why silence amplifies your value. Silence is often misunderstood. It's not about ignoring her or playing games. It's about creating space for her to reflect on what you brought to her life. When you go silent, you remove the constant reassurance she might have grown accustomed to. This sudden absence forces her to reconsider your value, and that's where the magic happens. Your silence is powerful because it's unexpected. Most people, when faced with disappointment or frustration, try to explain themselves, seek closure, or fight for attention. By stepping back and staying silent, you send a message without uttering a word. I don't need to prove my worth to you. My actions speak for themselves. As time passes, your silence begins to amplify your presence in her mind. She starts replaying past interactions, noticing the things she may have overlooked. Maybe it's your kindness, your consistency, or the way you made her feel special. These positive traits become magnified in your absence because there's no noise to distract her from the void you've left. Silence also gives her time to question herself. She might wonder, why hasn't he reached out? Is he really moving on? Did I underestimate him? These questions don't just create curiosity, they create a sense of urgency. The longer you remain silent, the more significant your presence becomes, and the more she realizes just how much she misses having you around. 7. The emotional tension builds. As your silence stretches on, it creates a unique form of emotional tension. This tension isn't just about missing you, it's about the unresolved feelings and questions swirling in her mind. The uncertainty of where you stand becomes a driving force behind her thoughts, and this constant preoccupation keeps you firmly in her head. Emotional tension is powerful because it disrupts her sense of stability. She might have believed that she had control over the situation, but your withdrawal shatters that illusion. This loss of control triggers a mix of emotions: regret for not appreciating you, curiosity about what you're doing now, and even guilt for possibly taking you for granted. The tension also heightens her awareness of everything that reminds her of you. A song, a familiar place, or even a random conversation can bring back memories of the connection you shared. Each reminder deepens the emotional pull, making her think about you more and more. 8. When curiosity turns into action. Curiosity has a way of driving people to take action. Once the emotional tension reaches its peak, she'll feel an overwhelming need to bridge the gap. At first, her actions might be subtle, liking your social media posts, sending casual texts, or finding excuses to initiate contact. But as her curiosity grows, her efforts to reconnect become more deliberate. When she reaches out, it's a sign that she's been thinking about you constantly. She's likely spent days or weeks analyzing her feelings, replaying past interactions, and questioning what went wrong. This process of reflection often leads to a realization. Losing you might have been a bigger mistake than she initially thought. How you respond to her actions is critical. This is your opportunity to show that you've grown and moved forward. Keep your responses calm, confident, and slightly detached. For example, if she texts you, avoid jumping into deep conversations right away. Instead, keep it light and casual, showing her that while you're open to reconnecting, you're not desperate for her attention. This balance of confidence and detachment makes her see you in a new light. It reinforces the idea that you're someone worth pursuing, not someone who can be easily swayed. By maintaining your composure, you shift the power dynamic in your favor, making her realize that winning you back won't be as simple as she might have hoped. 9. Why emotional control wins every time. Emotional control is one of the most attractive qualities you can have, and it becomes even more apparent when she tries to reconnect. When she reaches out, she might test your patience or provoke emotional reactions to gauge your level of interest. How you handle these moments defines how she perceives you moving forward. Imagine she brings up past arguments or tries to get a reaction by mentioning other people. If you respond with anger or frustration, it shows her that you're still emotionally tied to her actions. But if you remain calm and unbothered, it communicates strength and confidence. It tells her that while you care, you're not controlled by her behavior. Emotional control isn't about suppressing your feelings, it's about mastering them. It's about showing that you can handle disappointment, rejection, or conflict with grace and maturity. This kind of stability is rare and highly attractive because it creates a sense of security. She knows that no matter what happens, you won't be easily shaken. The beauty of emotional control is that it shifts the focus back to you. Instead of chasing her or reacting to her tests, You're showing her that your life and happiness don't revolve around her. This independence makes you stand out and leaves a lasting impression that's hard to ignore. 10. The power of moving on gracefully. One of the most impactful things you can do is move on gracefully. This doesn't mean cutting her off completely or acting like you don't care. It means showing her that you're confident enough to prioritize your own growth and happiness. When you move on gracefully, you send a clear message. I value myself too much to stay in a situation that doesn't align with my standards. This level of self-respect is incredibly attractive because it shows that you're not afraid to walk away from what doesn't serve you. It also leaves her questioning her own choices and behavior. Graceful detachment isn't about playing games or seeking revenge. It's about focusing on yourself. It's about investing your energy into things that make you happy and fulfilled, whether that's your career, hobbies, or personal development. When she sees you thriving without her, it creates a sense of intrigue and admiration. The lasting impression you leave by moving on gracefully is powerful. She'll remember how you handled the situation with dignity and maturity, and it will make her realize what she lost. Over time, this realization often leads to regret and the desire to reconnect. But by then, you'll be in a position of strength, deciding whether she's truly worth your time and energy. Conclusion: thanks for watching. If this video gave you value, hit the like button and subscribe for more insights like this. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. See you in the next one.